Hello and welcome to Easy Does It. Let me move my microphone to the other side. There we go. What's good, y'all? Welcome to Easy Does It. This is Easy, and I am doing it. And by it, I mean talking about sports because that's what we do on Chicago Clubhouse Network. So some pretty interesting stuff going on with the Bears. They made some huge moves over the course of the past few days, even the course of the past few hours. Most recent moves: Bears bring in tight end Robert Tunyon, rhyming with Funyon, which rhymes with onion, which is the whole point of Funyon. So we got Robert Tunyon Onion signed, good tight end. Played with the Packers for a while, so he could give us all the insider secrets on how they always kick our ass. Then we got another player from Carolina, Dante Foreman, running back, filled in for Christian McCaffrey this year for a lot of games once McCaffrey was traded. Did a really good job. Really good player. 4.5 yards a carry. I think he had 203 rushes for 915 some yards. One thing is he doesn't really catch the ball a lot out of the backfield, but when he gets it in his hands, he does some good things. Moreover from that, obviously, the signings of Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker, TJ Edwards, the linebacker from Philadelphia, Nate Davis, the guard from Tennessee. A lot of people very excited about Nate Davis coming in, and DeMarcus Walker from the Titans as well, the defensive lineman, and what was his name? Andrew Billings from the Raiders. Big body, eats up a lot of space. Speaking of big body, I want to welcome a good friend of mine on the show who also eats up a lot of space, and he did eat up a lot of space in his days playing nose tackle. Noah Gross, welcome to the show. I'm sorry if that intro was a little rude.
When you're a man my size, you get used to it.
All right. And in addition to Noah Gross, I have an even more special guest. No offense, Noah, but, NFL is...
None taken.
I'm just roasting you today, man. I'm sorry. It's not cool.
Only on days that end in Y.
Only on days that end in Y, exactly. But no, I got a great friend of Chicago Clubhouse Network and new friend of the show. Also happens to share a namesake with the Bears' newly acquired wide receiver, DJ Moore. But this is the OG, the original DJ Moore is going to be joining us. What is good, DJ Moore? Welcome to the show.
I cannot say this enough. It's the same nickname.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
the thing was, because technically he's gonna erase me off the face of the earth, essentially. Because I was in Carolina and then he got drafted. So the two teams that I was on, now if you Google me, it ain't gonna be me. So
no, the funny thing is, if you look up
on by a thread,
if you look up DJ Moore Bears, you still come up. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, it won't be long.
It won't be long. Well, Hopefully, no offense to you. Hopefully, it won't be long because hopefully he makes enough noise to where it kind of pushes you aside. But just so you know, real Bears fans know you as the guy.
You're
right. For what it's worth, my best friend is a Bears fan. I was like, for what it's worth, my best friend is a Bears fan, and I told him I was doing this today, and he specifically said, "Tell DJ he is one of my all-time favorite Bears. He's one of my favorite slot corners, and I would always trade for him in Madden." So I had to get that out there.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to say about that. So real quick, I want to ask you, DJ Moore, could DJ Moore cover DJ Moore?
He looks really good though, really fast. In certain situations, I was more of a zone type. If you run anything in zone, I got you. And man, I just think foot speed. I wouldn't be able to, especially now. No, I mean you. I think you'll run by me right now. So it'll.
I don't run by a lot except a buffet.
That's fair. Hey, man, we all get hungry. Real quick, I do want to show the highlight tape that I put together for the last show, just so the people who are watching know, exactly who they're talking to. In case you forgot who DJ Moore was, this guy could ball, and I'm going to show y'all.
Facts.
Wee!
I gotta say, it takes me back when the Bears were good, and it looks like it's nice to know that it looks like we're trending in that direction again.
Gonna be there soon.
DJ, I gotta ask you, you've been keeping up with the off season more than like the regular season when you didn't watch any of the Bears?
Well, no, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even watch any of these NCAA basketball. I haven't been doing anything. I've been doing homework, but no, I did see. I kind of had to because it's like people like, hey man, you playing still? Like, no. It ain't me. And then I had to kind of look at like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So I have seen, I think the big excitement that I think everybody's kind of talking about with the DJ Moore trade. So having the plethora of receivers. So it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Oh yeah, and can you talk about like from a defensive perspective, especially as a DB, like what having three receivers, like specifically a speedster like Mooney, a physical guy like Claypool, and then a kind of a do-it-all type player like DJ Moore. Like, what is that like on a defense to prepare for that kind of thing?
Well, I think it's maybe harder for them because at this point you have three players that they think they're the number one target. So it's like, well, who am I? Like, because I don't normally play slot, and I know Claypool doesn't, and DJ Moore has been the target, and then Mooney has been the target here. So I think the big thing is going to be which one of them rise to the top. And the one thing I can kind of think about now, I think in Cincinnati, they just spreading the ball around.
Oh yeah,
we don't throw it that much.
That's true. Bears do not throw the ball very much.
We throwing about 11, 12 times. Now, again, they may switch it up, but we throwing 11, 12 times. So who going to get the passes and then who going to get frustrated? And then you got a tight end in there that Komet that can play, and then you got another guy coming in. So it's
good problem to have.
I don't know. It's going to be – for defense, though, you just got to see who it is in the slot. If it's Mooney, you got to worry about reverses and things like that. And I think with DJ Moore the same way. If it's Claypool, normally I would assume he'll probably be more so on the on the outside.
Sure.
So I would assume DJ Moore or Mooney would be, more of the slot person. So it really honestly would depend on how they put the offense together and with motions and all these other different stuff. So I don't think it'll be hard, but I think it's gonna be real hard to figure out. Like somebody's gonna be upset.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Somebody's gonna be hungry.
There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. You want to get a lot of guys who are at their best when they have the ball in their hands. And also a lot of these guys, DJ Moore obviously he's under contract for a little while, but Claypool and Mooney both have expiring contracts. So I could definitely see some tension in the receiver room. I don't know. Have you ever been in a situation like that where there's been a few people maybe at the same position who are looking to get some paydays, and maybe they're not getting the ball as much, or they're not getting as much playing time, and there's been some tension there?
To be all star receivers are upset. No, seriously, it's just in the one that I play with. Marshall was always upset.
Oh, I'm sure.
You had to throw him the ball first at practice. You might have thrown it to him like 5 or 6 times in a row. Like literally, he would get upset if you didn't pass him the ball
at practice.
Mm-hmm.
In practice,
wow.
Yeah, I've heard a story of Jay Cutler throwing it to him every time.
But again, it would be that thing where it's like he has to have the ball, and from every receiver that I've seen that's been a star receiver, they're the star receiver for a reason. Mm-hmm. You have to get the ball. So now you in a situation where I feel like I'm the star, but I want to get paid. And now I think even with Fields, it puts a lot of pressure on him because going into the season is like, well, we don't have receivers, we don't have this. And now it's like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is about to try to lead Green Bay. You know what? We're about to try to go for this thing.
Big
so
time.
now I want to see wide receivers. You've been running the ball. Now you're going to have to like let it fly. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, how that works out with the offensive coordinator. So if you got all the tools, and they all can run though. It ain't like
no, there's no slouches.
Yeah, no. They are running. So you have the stuff. So I'm excited to see how it turn out. I may even watch a game this year.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. Hey, we got to get you watching, and I think you will be watching because I think we'll be a lot better to watch this year. And like you said, you know, about the coordinator, obviously last year they were more run centric. This year they look to, I mean, bringing in all these weapons leads me to think they're going to want to pass the ball more. And now you were, you know, we got into it in the comments, not us, but there were some people getting into it with you in the comments when you were last on this network. Mm-hmm. Just because you are not as big of a Justin Fields fan as many of us are. And one thing I do like right now is that by getting these players, bringing in another offensive lineman, right now we're basically saying, all right, now year 3, you have to make the jump this year. There are no excuses. This year, I will not make any excuses for Justin Fields. Last year, I think there were some built-in excuses. But do you think that now that he's got, you know, those weapons and an improved offensive line, some decent running backs in there. I know they didn't sign Montgomery, but still have, you know, Herbert and Foreman that's a good combo. Do you think that, like, are you more of a believer that Fields will produce more?
Oh no, nothing changes with that one about him. Now I think, you know, getting offensive linemen, maybe giving me more time. But I think again, going back to when he was at Ohio State, he just held the ball a long time.
That's true.
So I'm not sure he's processing it.
Right.
If I'm me as a coach was a believer in him at all as a thrower, I wouldn't be throwing the ball 11 times. Like, I mean, this is not back in the day when it's 25 on 25. Like, it's
right.
Even when Joe Burrow had no line, like his line has started to come. Even when he had no line and was getting hurt, he still was throwing the ball a good bit. Mm-hmm. So when I believe in your arm and I believe in your thinking process that you can either get the ball out, or even when you listen, if I'm that athletic and I'm running a 4.4, right, and I'm you're not gonna be sacking me anyway. Figure something out.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I feel like, and Noah, you could chime in on this because I know you played offensive line. I know high school is a little different, but still, you know, you coached it. Like I feel like offensive line, I don't want to say it's overvalued, but when it comes to mobile quarterbacks, it's like just by the nature of the game, you don't necessarily need as elite pass protection because you have a guy who can move around a bit. You have a guy who can make plays. So I don't know. Am I embellishing that?
No, you're absolutely correct. And it goes both ways. Number one, you don't necessarily need that elite offensive line because the quarterback's going to be able to move and bail your guys out. But on the flip side of that, having played with a very mobile quarterback, it can be a bit difficult when you're trying to get your calls out. What kind of pass block are we going into? And you get into your set and you're supposed to take a guy outside, as opposed to inside, and your quarterback rolls outside. So that's another one of those things where we just personally I didn't watch a ton of Bears, but having been Elijah's friend, you know, doing my homework, watched a fair amount of Bears film. A lot of the sacks that Justin took, bluntly, I didn't think were on the line. I thought it was him bailing too early. I thought it was him holding the ball for too long. I thought it was him bailing maybe the wrong spot. So I think that's also a thing that comes with the maturity and with bluntly just the game time and the reps. When you realize, I don't need to bail out outside the tackle. I can slide up between a tackle and guard. And that's just something that comes with reps. That's really all it is.
Agreed. Do you want to add? I feel like you want to say something, DJ.
Well, it's if you're athletic, it's awesome. Now, if you got an offensive line where I call it the Patriots when they had Tom Brady, it's like, hey, don't let him get touched.
Right.
It's a comfortable situation to be in. Now I want to say offensive line are just like, you don't need it because you're athletic. But at the same time, and like Gross said, like he's just holding it too long at times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like, hey, well, I gotta let you grow up or I gotta let you mature. Like, man, you wasn't like when you was in high school, you was like in the Elite 11. Like, you've had all of this training. Like, if you ain't grew up by now, then like, what is it? You know what I mean? And especially with this day and age and the way the offense is, like, everybody just plugging and playing. Like, man, I need to see something. I need to see something down the field, at least in the summertime. You know what I mean? When it feel good. Now, when it get cold, hand the ball off, win a playoff game, but you got to put some yards up.
I hear that.
Doing it.
Yeah, no, right. Jared Goff, I will say, I do think Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I think he gets a lot of shit because he played badly in a Super Bowl. But like, I mean, he's had some pretty good years. But look, apart from, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler.
Crazy.
That's just weird. That's weird to think about. But anyhow, I want to kind of push back on that a little bit, DJ, just because I think that when it comes to specifically Ohio State quarterbacks, or like if there ever was like a Michigan quarterback, sometimes Alabama quarterbacks fall in this mold, but not as much. I think that but I guess specifically Ohio State, because they are known for having such a good offensive line, it makes the learning curve that much steeper when they get to the NFL. And that's why, in some ways, I'm willing to give Justin more of a pass for not reaching his full potential as a processor yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just giving Ohio State credit for making them bad.
Kinda, yeah. Honestly, a little bit. Like,
I get what you're saying.
It works to win in college, but it doesn't necessarily work to win in the NFL. Like, because there aren't those elite. Because you're not going to have as elite an offensive line.
And he's also throwing to 3 different All-American receivers, and just bluntly, he has a coaching staff that on a week-to-week basis he probably knows is superior to the staff on the other sideline. And I mean, no disrespect to any Bears coaches, past or present, but that just might not be the case at the NFL level.
Yeah. Well, but I just think that like pick it up. They're rushing here. Well, I get up to the line. Okay, I know that my left tackle is going to struggle. My right tackle is going to struggle. I understand that they're going to blitz. I'm going to read the defense. So if I'm reading the defense, I'm going to get the ball out fast. If they're not blitzing, I may, like you're saying, what do I need to escape at? Why am I escaping out and not up? Because just get it. Just have that it. Like at the quarterback position. And to me, it's just like he just doesn't have it all the time. We're just like, it just doesn't, like, why is it not clicking? Now, this one, when he started to run, you can see like he just like, oh, he got into the mode of, yeah, here I am. This is good for me. I can do this stuff.
I will say there is something refreshing about seeing a quarterback who's like, as a fan, as a professional fan, something enjoyable about a quarterback who's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself, and picking up those yards. But also not ideal because injuries and doesn't work every time.
Well, and he's injury, and his thing is he's injury prone though. Like that's his thing. He's always been that way. So when he was in college, no, when he was in college, when he ran, he got injured. Like this year, did he get injured?
Well, here's what I think. I know in college,
did he get injured this year too?
I think he got injured in college. He got injured when he was sacked. I know that happened. He was sacked in the championship or big bowl game. He got sacked. Hurt his ribs.
Yeah, he was running. He hurt his ribs. I remember it.
No, yeah. I think he was in the pocket.
No, he was running.
Was he running? Okay,
I remember him running. But
no, in this year, yes, he did get hurt. I also think that those games that he missed 2 games. He missed one against the Jets. He missed one he missed the last game of the season. I firmly believe that if the Bears were like 5-4 or 6-3, or even if they were like 4-5, like still, sniffing around for a playoff spot, I do think he absolutely would have played. I just think that given the way this season was going, there was no reason to put him out there. That's my theory. I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think, and I don't mind quarterbacks just running, but if you're going to take that pain over and over again, eventually it's going to just catch up to you. I think. And I don't think nobody can disagree. Like when RG3 hit the scene, it was like, oh my God, like this looks awesome. Like, who is this cat? Him and Andrew Luck coming out at the same time. It's like, bump Andrew Luck, this cat hit, and then he gets hurt. But again, it's because you're putting yourself in that situation to get hit. It's not like because some people kind of like a Russell Wilson, like he's going to slide. Like they slick with getting down and getting out.
Russell Wilson, it was very clear he played a lot of baseball.
Yeah, but he knew, but he was just like, he understands, like, I'm not going to take the brunt of it. I love Lamar Jackson, but he's going to, like, he don't care. Like, that's what I can appreciate about him. Like, you're going to have to tackle me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sliding. If you ain't going to tackle me, that's on you.
When I was looking up highlights for Tremaine Edmonds, I saw one where he just flips Lamar Jackson and Lamar just like hops right up. He's like, yeah, whatever, you know?
Oh, yeah. So just having that type of situation, because I even seen where I think they put him at running back, gave him a sweep. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, and it looked cool, but it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that did feel weird. That play would have been really cool if it was like during a time when we're competitive and it's like we're facing a division rival. We want to get a big play. Like, yeah, that would have been really cool then, but I didn't really understand it at that point. I want to comment a little bit on Skylark's comments here. Skylark, thanks for joining the show. And this is, we're going to switch gears for a minute and then we'll probably, enter this conversation again. He wants to know if you have any wide receiver or secondary or really anyone in the draft that you really like. Like, have you been keeping up with that at all?
I haven't really. But I think for us, I would just go offensive line, like, heavy. I think you can find the way that the game is constructed, you can find receivers who can run routes because they can't hold you.
Right.
You can find all of that, but offensive linemen, like, they just cornbread fed. They just built different. Sometimes it's harder to find those. So if you can just get some quality offensive linemen and just stack that together, I think that's where you kind of start at. Especially when you done did all this other stuff with the receivers, and you can always. And I like Montgomery, but you can always you can find your running back.
I will say I do think O-line. Absolutely, I agree. I still lean towards. I'm hoping we like round one. I still think defensive line right now is the most important because it's kind of hard when you can't get after the quarterback. Have you ever played? Like as a defensive back, like have you ever played in a game where it's hard to like it was when you were with the Bears? Like it felt like our defense was always flying all over. But like, have you ever played in a game where maybe the defensive line wasn't getting home as much and you had to like stay in coverage for longer, or like can you just speak to having a really good defensive line?
Yeah, well, in Chicago, you would normally have a good offensive line, but again, you would play against, Aaron Rodgers and somebody, those type of guys twice a year, or Matthew Stafford, where they know what you're doing. They're gonna get the ball out fast. But again, if you don't have any pressure, you may blitz somebody or do different things like that. So,
of course,
I think in this day and age, and with this type of game, because you can piece together defense, you can blitz and do different types of stuff. But if you're not scoring points at this, you seen the Super Bowl, it wasn't defense. It was just who's going to score last. And because they got the holding call,
I know.
If you don't get the holding call, I think the Eagles going to go down and score. No one has stopped really anyone. And if they did, they just overthrew the ball or something, or just fumbled it. So I think it's about offense. Now, again, going into the playoffs, you get situational defense. Like, okay, you made a stop on third down here. We get the ball back. But to me, build the offense. Let's see how many points we can score, and then let our defense just be situational, and then we'll go from there.
I like that a lot. I do like that a lot. I also, one thing I want to say is I credit, like I agree mainly about your point about, yes, building the O-line, just getting all the pieces we can, partially because like if you are, and I hope you're wrong, but if you are right about Fields and he ends up not doing so well, then at least you have like a really solid foundation from which to like, throw in a new quarterback. But I also want to say, I do think Ryan Poles has a very one of the good qualities he has as a GM is because he played offensive line. He's said he thinks he's better at scouting offensive linemen because he could kind of see the game from the perspective of someone who's played the position. Do you think that, like that plays a factor, that plays a role in, how he scouts and how he drafts and whatnot?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you played offensive line, not only offensive line, but as an offensive line, what other offensive linemen struggle with. Is it, the speed, this power? But again, I would assume if you can't do anything else, That's right. You should be good at scouting, offensive linemen. But again, it is really, really hard. It's like always the Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, whoever debate. It's like which angle am I coming from? Like, well, who did you play in college? And well, I seen you do this, and well, you ran the 40 without pads on, but then this person here is a little more aggressive. And to me, with offensive linemen, as long as you just mean and disrespectful, I think I can work with you.
Oh yeah, I love that.
But again, I think it is hard. But hopefully he's right. Because if you get some good offensive linemen, it'll change things fast. I think, especially when Nagy first got there, I think it was because they did good because the offensive line seemed to be.
Yeah, it was cohesive. Strong.
Yeah.
You had a young James Daniels in there. You had white hair. You had young white hair, or younger white hair, I should say. Leno was a lot better than he ended up being. Yeah, it was like a really solid group of guys up front. I want to talk about Skylark's comment here. I feel like Getsy's more of a rushing offensive OC so far. Yeah, I'd agree to that. I think he's definitely, like at this point, he's absolutely shown he's more of a rushing mind. And I do think that was also just a lot of based on the personnel they had last year, especially after Mooney did go down. I'm just excited, man. Like, I'm excited with everything the Bears have done this offseason. And I could really see them taking that jump. I will say another thing, and Noah here's an Eagles fan. So he had a, fun year, obviously disappointing end, but really great season for those guys. The jump Jalen Hurts made from year 2 to year 3 was pretty significant. And I mean, look, regardless of how you feel about Justin Fields, do y'all feel like the moves the Bears have made are are enough to potentially elevate a quarterback like him or help him elevate to the next level? Not necessarily because it's Justin Fields, but do you feel like this is enough to really bring the Bears, not necessarily to the Super Bowl like the Eagles got, but to make a deep run in the NFC? And no, you can
I'll let you go. If Gross wants it, I can give him the. I think so. I think and I don't know when this Aaron Rodgers. I haven't been watching it. He has not been traded yet. Correct?
Not officially. I don't know why everyone's celebrating.
Not down
a bit.
But it seems to be imminent. All right. So if I'm a Bears fan, now it goes from you got to be Goff and Cousins. Like, it's up for grabs.
Big time.
So it's like if there wasn't a move to where like we haven't. I mean, Green Bay has owned it, and then randomly is always Minnesota randomly jumping there. I mean, in that Detroit seemed like they're playing hard, but it's just like you never really believe in them. So I think from that perspective alone, just if Aaron Rodgers is gone, the cat that's gonna beat you seem like every single time, like you have to feel like you have to make the jump because this is the time.
I completely agree.
It ain't about. I don't think we dare just go. Oh yeah, we're gonna win a Super Bowl this year. You just want to be competitive enough to where you get into the playoffs and say, well, boom, well we strung some plays together and we may be able to make something happen. But I know last year we won at that point. So this year you have to feel that. There's no way that you can't feel that way. Now comparing Fields and Hurts, I just like Hurts. He just has a different. Say hey, man. He has a different.
Daughter, welcome to the show.
Yeah, he just has a different, like a maturity. To me, a mature mindset. Like I think he was always good. Like whenever you put Hurts in, he does his job.
He's always had it. I felt like.
Yeah, it's the same way. With the Prescott. He, even though like people, oh, you ain't doing this and doing that, he does his job, and
that's true.
Just expect him to do it. And with Fields, it's extra wild. It's just an extra wild code. Like I don't know, coach had let you throw the ball 11 times. I don't even care if all your receivers went down. This is the NFL. Run the route, throw him the ball, and if I'm only letting you throw the ball 11 times, either I'm a terrible play caller or you're a terrible player. There's only two things that you can come out of that. A terrible thrower. Like there's no other way to even put it.
I will say, look, I agree with you to an extent, but I will say just off that last point, they were throwing it that little early in the season. Like the first 3 games of the year is when they were really not throwing it at all. And then they had this game against the Giants where it was raining and it was like, not an excuse, but just like, like you want to run the ball in the rain.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then they started opening it up a little bit more, started putting up more points, and then Fields started, scrambling, and that was when the Bears were scoring, and then Mooney went down, and Claypool went down, and then that's when it kind of went to shit again. So it was like to Fields' credit. Go ahead, Noah.
No, sorry, I didn't cut you off. I think another point that's important to take into consideration. Everyone talks about how Jalen got AJ Brown and he exploded, and I'm not denying that is true. But if you watch, what a lot of it was that the 1st and 10 little out route for 4 yards that was going in the dirt in year 2 was a completion in year 3. The 40-yard deep ball that he was overthrowing by 3 or 4 yards in year 2, he was completing it. I mean, you look, some of those balls to AJ and Smitty on deep downfield were dimes. And so I don't know if to go back to your earlier question about does getting these extra pieces for Justin make that happen? I don't know. Because Claypool can be 6'4" and run a 4.5 and blow past a corner, but if Fields is launching it past him, it doesn't really matter. Mooney can be shifty and get a great whip route and man coverage and have open field in front of him, but if he spikes at his feet, nothing can really do about it.
We did see your guy Nick Foles overthrow Mooney on this gorgeous route where he just.
I remember that one I remember we talked.
Oh my god, I felt so bad for Mooney when that happened at the time. Also bad for the Bears because we sucked ass at football, but yeah. I want to talk a little more. Let's talk defense for a minute. And I know, it's all about scoring, today's NFL, of course. But the Eagles also, the Eagles ran the table in the NFC by, having that elite pass rush and by just like physically dominating opponents. Noah and I were together for that Giants game. It was awesome. What y'all did is great. What y'all did to Danny Dimes. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, kind of because I guess it's a similar scheme to what y'all ran with Lovey, bringing in a guy like TJ Edwards, and I want your opinion on TJ Edwards, by the way, Noah Gross, but bringing in a guy like Edwards and Edmonds, what do you think that does for this defense? How good do you think Edmonds could be in a scheme like this? And what should we expect to see?
You got to fill me in first. I ain't watching that. So Edmonds is coming from. Is he the one you said the Bills?
Buffalo, yeah.
What position? Middle.
He's middle linebacker. He's 6'5". He's like 250.
So he's like 260.
He's built like Brian.
Well, yeah. Well, because even if he's coming from, he knows the defense because in Buffalo they run the same style. I played for I can't even think. What's the head coach name in Buffalo?
McDermott.
McDermott. When I was in Carolina, he was a defensive coordinator.
Right, UG coordinator.
They all run the same cover 2 base. And Rose, and that's all y'all did in Philly, which kind of at the end of that thing, like we might have to get out of this cover 2, but they never did. But again, it's predicated on the defensive line, though. Now it's good to be 6'5" in the middle, and you can run down the middle of the field. But if you don't, in this style of defense, if you don't get that 4-man pressure, it's gonna be hard. I think it's good to have, a really good linebacker in the middle, but if you don't have that D-line pressure, it's just going to be hard for that defense to function because the cover 2 shell is just
it only holds up so long.
Yeah, it only holds up so long, so
right.
It'll break down. Now again, it's a bend but don't break defense. And that's good, especially if you can put up points. So put up points, make them take a little time, and hopefully they'll make a mistake.
No, for sure. And Noah, can I get your thoughts on TJ Edwards?
Yeah, I love TJ. I apologize. My Wi-Fi's a bit spotty at the moment. I love TJ. He's got a really, really classic, great NFL story. Undrafted as a first-year player, got some special teams rep, became the 3rd linebacker, became the 2nd linebacker, and then he breaks out last year, has a great year. His problems were always in pass coverage. That was sort of always his Achilles heel. And he really took a step forward last year. Not that you're going to call him a pass coverage specialist. He's no Deion Jones or Miles Jack. But you feel comfortable saying you are responsible for pass coverage on any given play. You know, you're not going to do it every play, but on any given play, yeah, TJ can cover. And I think I love the value of this signing. I thought the money was great. Bluntly, thought Philly should have given him that money. But I thought I think he's a really, really good addition for the Bears.
That's good. That's good. I like that we were able to get a lot of bang for our buck out of the linebacker position as opposed to paying Roquan Smith all that money. I love Roquan Smith, but it's like I do like what the Bears are doing because it feels like it's just a little cheaper to get a few really good players instead of one really good player for much more money. Let's see. Oh, Frank the Tank says here he officially said he isn't playing for the Packers, assuming that's Aaron Rodgers. They gave up on him. Little person in his head told him this while he was in the black box. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the Packers are going to do. I'd like to know what y'all think the Jets are going to do if they do have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. You know, how much of a difference does that make for them? I still think he's as good as he's been. And now he's got, you know, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Breece Hall, some really nice players, good defense, Quinnen Williams and company. Obviously, Sauce Gardner. How do you feel like the Jets are going to do now that they got
if they had Aaron, I think that'd be good. I think it'll just them having it will change just the mindset of everybody. Mm-hmm. Now he may come in there and just pull up Donovan McNabb and just look bad randomly.
Yeah.
But initially I think it'll just boost everybody's morale. You could imagine just having him last year. I mean, it would probably been in the playoffs. They was in every single game. And I think when Aaron Rodgers did win the Super Bowl, it wasn't really just the offense. It really was the defense. Right. And, Woodson and all them it was like a lot of defense. They made a lot
Woodson, Matthews, Raji.
It was Aaron Rodgers. He would throw some talent, but they made a lot of plays. So it'll be interesting to see how it is because if he goes to another team, like what offense are they running? And I'm the one calling the shots. Do I get along with whoever the person is? Or is it like one of them Tom Brady things? You run what I want you to run, and then we'll go from there. Because once you make that jump, it just don't always happen. It don't always go well.
That's true.
Now you would assume that with Aaron Rodgers, you would assume that it would go well.
Yeah, I mean, just because of what he could do with his right arm,
but who knows if it goes bad for a game or two, he might leave, go back in the dark room, and somebody tell him he need to retire. You know what I mean? So again, I think mentally, and I think he in a good headspace, and for whatever reason, I mean, he even want to leave. The Packers seem like for a while for whatever reason. So I think it could be good for both. I'm honestly, I want to see Love play. I just want to see if Love can play too. Like
I want to see if Love can play. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared as shit. You know, all I know is Packers quarterbacks being great, so I'm scared as shit as Love coming in there.
I'm telling you, it happens. If Love turns out to be really good, that is an impressive streak. But again, he's been sitting behind a really good quarterback and watching him, and just like Aaron Rodgers did. So
I'm saying if Love goes in and is elite, you know, if he goes in and is really good, or maybe not elite, but, you know, really good right off the bat, making plays and, you know, showing like smart football, I think that we'll say maybe we're rushing these quarterbacks too much. Maybe they all should sit a little bit. I don't know, man. Like, do you think that maybe because then the Packers will show twice in a row that this might be a pretty good blueprint. Do you think there's any merit to that?
Well, yes and no. No. Well, take that back. Because I have Brett Favre, then you can wait, right?
Sure.
And because I have Aaron Rodgers, yeah, you can wait. But whoever was before Joe Burrow, who was it before?
You're not waiting on Andy Dalton. You're not waiting on Kirk Cousins.
Andy Dalton was actually he get a lot of slack, but in Cincinnati he was really good.
He was nice. Pretty good. Nice.
And then something kind of happened and it went down. But again, if you can have a Herbert now, a Josh Allen come in now, you can have Mahomes. All of these guys played now, essentially. It's like, oh no, they kicking the other person out.
Do you not think maybe Herbert would have benefited from sitting behind like Rivers for a little bit?
He looked good to me.
He did look really good. Yeah. He looked really good.
Philly, same way. The Philly, okay,
Carson Wentz.
Huh?
Carson Wentz.
No, not Carson Wentz. The one they got now.
Oh, Jalen.
Yeah, he really ain't sat. He just played. He came in. Somebody got hurt. He played. Like he's developed, like because he's played. The same way in Dallas, they like, oh, Tony Romo is a great broadcaster. Yeah, he a broadcaster because the guy came in and said, hey, I'm gonna play, and then booted him out. So I think at times it works, but if the quarterback is not like a Hall of Famer, all-time great, no one wants an all-star waiting behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
that's fair to say. I mean, I'd still say maybe like a season. I think Mahomes proved sitting for a year, and Alex Smith had an MVP season, but they were still like, ready to shuttle him out in favor of Mahomes. We all know why. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. If a quarterback comes in and shows that he's as talented as a Joe Burrow or a Herbert, then, maybe sitting's not always the best approach. But, we'll see how it is in the case of Jordan Love. Personally, I obviously hope he sucks, but, go ahead, Noah.
No, I was saying the one thing on that point about, quarterback sitting, definitely beneficial. And I don't want to put too much of an emphasis on this, but it is important that if you look how the game has evolved at the lower levels past 10, 20 years, you have kids that are 7 years old going to quarterback camps. You have 8-year-olds doing passing leagues. You have these kids that are like, in a lot of ways, like breathing the quarterback life more or less from the time they have consciousness. So I think the game has evolved so much. And I think that might be why there feels like, how do I phrase this? That might be a factor in why coaches and management feel an ability or a need even to make young guys play faster and or before they're ready.
Well, I would say also the NFL game is more so morphing towards the college game. Everything is shotgun. There's nobody under center. There's no 7-step drops, 5-step drops. You just catch it and throw it. So again, when I'm adapting my game to you, the college kid, then it is easier. On defense, I can't touch you. It's a flag. Receivers are much better. You can get a receiver in any round.
Really?
Like because they just all start every single year. There's somebody who's running routes that are really good because you can't hold them. You got to understand how hard it is to be playing and running backwards and turning your hips against anybody who's running at any speed. It's a hard task. And I can't touch you. I'm like supposed to shadow you. Like, come on, man.
One thing I will say, DJ, and this is kind of a backhanded compliment, but you were always pretty good at holding without getting caught. I felt like. Am I wrong about that? Like, did you ever you always seem to know? Maybe you knew where the line judge was. Is there a way around some of that?
No, going into the game, you would know. Like, they would tell you, like, well, this line judge, they normally call pass interference. So if you're on this side, you got to be careful. If you're doing this, you got to be careful. I never really held because I don't know. If I'm holding you, I can't catch the ball.
That's fair.
My thing was I just process information fast. So if you beat me on the play, like when I see it coming again, like I can see it in slow motion. Like, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right?
So for instance, with Bradbury, in my head, I'm watching the game like I know what route they're going to do. They're going to do the route again. And to me, I think he knew what they were going to do, but he just naturally just grabbed all the time and he just had his hands on him. And it's like, just stay outside and adjust to what you're seeing. And it's like the players didn't adjust, the coaches didn't adjust. So you just have to be able to adjust the stuff. And then that helps you without older, because if you know what the play is, I just laugh like, oh, just come on back this way. I'm waiting on you. Like I know.
So you knew it was going to be like that wheel route type thing.
Huh?
You knew it was going to be like that wheel route type
thing.
It
was just the in and out.
Whip into the wheel.
Or the whip.
So I'll take, for instance, in practice, I remember Cat almost broke my hip.
Who broke your hip?
Not his name. He went to Ohio State. He played for Chicago wide receiver. He was number 12, I think.
Oh, was it Dane Sonsenbacher?
Yeah, I think it was. So he comes
white receiver.
Yeah, receiver. He comes over the ball. When he stops over the ball, in my head, he's stopping. So he stops, and it looked like he ain't moving at all. And then he shook and went back out. And when he did it, because I just stopped, because I'm like, oh, the play is over with. And he just left. And I'm sitting like, okay. So now what I realize is instead of being on top of him, I'm going to be beside him. So whenever he stops, all I'm going to do is run and he can't stop because I'm pushing him to make him keep going. So when he goes back to the huddle, coach, like, why you didn't stop? He said, well, he's pushing me. So I'm adjusting to like, okay, if you're going to do this, then I have something that can go against, that can counter that situation.
Right. You got to have some kind of counterpunch, like
because with them, they kept going over the top and they was going back out. It's like adjust. You know what I mean? You got it's a mental game. We can all run and jump, but if mentally you're not,
DJ, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Noah.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just, and I'll be honest, I've been so excited to ask DJ this question because I'm a football nerd and I'm excited. I'm going to try to hold it in. I imagine part of that as well is whether or not you're playing man or zone. As you said, you were a zone corner. Chicago obviously runs a ton of zone. So I guess it's sort of a two-parter from me that I've been sitting on all day. What are the traits you look for in a man versus zone corner? And then on top of that, there's that saying that zone always turns into man. Can you just talk about those 2 points? I would just love to pick your brain.
The first one, you might have to ask it again, but the first one, man, the zone corner. If you play a lot of man, you're probably going to have to be a little faster. Patrick Peterson,
prime Patrick.
Deion Sanders is like, I just have the speed. If I get beat, I'm just gone. Like I can just catch up with you. Mm-hmm. Most of the time in zone, you got to understand everybody around you. You got to understand what Urlacher is doing. You got to understand what this person is doing because it helps you with where I need to be. Like I'm not making your play because that's not my job. I know what my zone is, and I know I can make my plays. If you watch like the highlight tape, most of my interception was just Urlacher hitting somebody. I'm waiting for him to hit him. It's gonna pop in the air. I'm just waiting.
But isn't that still you doing? Like you're still around the ball.
Yes, but again, when you're in zone, your eyes are on the ball. So if you in that cover 2 scheme,
I'm still here, by the way.
You're supposed to be a good reader of the quarterback. So if I drop back and I turn this way, I should be able to read it, and I got to get a jump on it. With man and man, it's just a lot of it. And it depends on kind of your team too. Like if it's the Darrell Reeves thing, he's on the island, like you just let him go at whoever, or is it situational? If it's 3rd and like 6 or less, everybody's plays man. Because if I play off, you catch the ball as a first down. So even if you play zone, if it's 3rd and like 6, 5, 4, 3, everybody's gonna be pressed across the board normally because I can't give up. I can't give up an inch because it's 3rd down and we need to make it. We need to make it happen. I think in the Super Bowl when Bradbury, it was man to man. They had been playing zone all game, but whenever they messed up and whenever they went to man, the motion messed them up, and then they started doing whatever.
It still confuses me that Eagles defensive coordinator got a job immediately after that game, but
Well, no, it ain't. Well, it's the totality of it. Like.
Right, sure.
Been good all year. Now it's just one game against probably somebody you're going to name as the greatest quarterback of all time in a little bit. Like
I agree.
Right.
If he doesn't,
completely agree.
That's the only route that he's going.
Agreed.
Then what was the other question again?
Noah.
So there's that old phrase that from DB coaches I've been around as a player, as an offensive line coach, saying that zone always turns into man at some point. Like at a certain point, you have a man you have to guard, right?
Yes. Well, I coach the best way to think of it. I just coach basketball too. There's always a man in your zone. There could be 2 people in your zone that will stretch you out, but normally. There's going to be one of them in your zone. If they're in your zone, then you man that person in your zone. If you're playing a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, if the defensive line ain't got there, now you got to scramble and you just got to start looking around and grabbing somebody.
Got to find someone.
You're hopeful that the defensive line gets there. So if I'm manning my zone, I can break on that pass in my zone. For instance, on the video when I picked off, I think it was either Romo or Matthew Stafford. I'm rolling with the man in my zone. So if I don't pick it off, hopefully the next person in the zone picks the person up.
Was it the one? The one right. At like, just to be clear, because I know those highlights very well because I put together the video. Was it the one where y'all at home, or was it in like? Did it look like it was on the road?
It was on the road. So again, I think they're going up.
Then it was Romo.
So,
it was Romo.
So normally, what would happen is Urlacher, if two or three, which means the slot receiver or the receiver inside of him or the tight end goes straight up the field, Urlacher is supposed to carry that player down the field. And he's just a middle run-through player. But sometimes if the tight end sits down, coach gave him the option to sit down with him. Technically, if I'm picking it off, technically we switch responsibilities. Technically, he's supposed to still run through, and I'm supposed to maybe get the tight end. But again, everybody does it a little bit. Does it a little bit differently.
Sure, so and I'm sure that like playing with a guy like Urlacher, it's unique, so it probably changes.
Like, because he can do what he can do what he want to do.
Right.
So you adjust. If I want to tackle people, because he was a little bit older too, it's like, well, he can run, but not like he used to run. So
yeah, he got injured in a meaningless game.
If something so happens. So you just adjust. But again, it is a man with if somebody catches the ball in your zone, it's probably your fault. The only other situation would be like if I'm the nickel. There's somebody in front of me. There's somebody behind me. There's a high low. So if I try to tackle the guy in front of me, they're going to throw it over my head for the dig. I got to stay
Make it pick your poison,
again,
right?
Sometimes offenses know your defense. So if there's two people in your zone, then it makes it tough. But it's essentially, it's essentially zone. It's essentially man, but it's just where's my man within my zone.
So that does make sense. And no, I think that's kind of similar to what you've always said about offensive line, which is that like, like when you're playing zone, you got to eventually you got to cover someone. Like when you're an offensive lineman, it's like you might forget the play. You just hit someone, right? Like find a body, like body on a body.
First off color jersey. That's what we were taught. If I started playing guard, that's where I started. If I was told to pull on this play, I'm supposed to go up to backer, but the center or the guard next to me let the defensive tackle through. Guess what? I'm hitting D tackle. It's first off color jersey.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. So I want to, we've been going at it for about an hour now, and I want to say thank y'all both for coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun. Before we go though, I want to talk. We can end it on a bit of a fun topic. I want to rank the quarterbacks. I want to talk like who's in that. Obviously, Mahomes is in his own upper echelon. So there's Patrick Mahomes, and then there are a bunch of other guys. Who would you put in that tier one right below Mahomes right now? Just in the whole NFL. And are any of them in the NFC?
I'm gonna lean on y'all. I'm gonna try because I haven't watched as much. But I guess you would have to go Burrow. Really, I think.
Probably.
I think Definitely. If the guy didn't push him out of bounds, he probably would have been in the Super Bowl again. If the guy didn't push Mahomes when he was out of bounds. So it seemed like they're going to be in the AFC Championship game for a while.
Sure.
I would put Lamar up there. It's just his style sometimes is just going to be hard because I just feel like he's going to get hurt but when he's on the field, it's just tough to stop. It's just a headache.
I can't imagine what it would be like for y'all to prepare for him. That would have been
well, it ain't like you just got to tackle everybody. It ain't like hey, the quarterback gonna slide. Like, no, he's going to run you over, and he's gonna. If he get past you, you ain't gonna be able to catch him.
Oh, that reminds me of another question I have. But anyway, continue speaking, and I'll.
Well, I would put him at. You know what? Yeah, I would put him at 3. Honestly, I would put him at 3.
That makes sense.
Who else? Allen. I just don't like Allen, but
you're not a big Allen guy.
Nah, well, he's just Lamar. They're the same, really. They just run a lot.
They are very similar. I know some Bills fans who would be so mad at you for saying that, but I'm with it. I love it.
You said who would?
On board.
But I love it.
They really do. They don't give him the same spike as Lamar, but he really is though.
Allen's got a certain element of Brett Favre to him.
Totally.
Also, like he's got like that like sometimes he plays the way I play Madden, where he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna chuck it and see what happens. And oftentimes it's not a good thing. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you on
particularly this year. Like a year ago, I probably would have had him in that tier 1 category but this year I would say no. He bluntly regressed. I don't think it's crazy to say that he regressed this year.
It did look like he was going to, because at first it was like, man, he's an inaccurate person, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, never mind.
Yeah,
but because I'm not the one to rank him. I ain't even watched that much, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
But I know I would say that Burrow right now, them and Mahomes are there, and they waiting. If Burrow gets a Super Bowl, then they'll really start to argue it then, because they want to argue it now.
Oh yeah.
I know Herbert is really good, but he just kind of seems kind of like the old school Matthew Stafford guy. Like when they get down, he starts to punch it everywhere type guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I still believe in Wilson a little bit. I
do too.
I think with Sean, it'll be different. It was an odd year for quarterbacks to be bad. It was like an odd, weird year. So, yeah, honestly, Mahomes at the top, and then Burrow is right there, and then you just sprinkling people in at this point, I think.
Maybe Herbert.
I think I very much agree with that, actually. Like Mahomes, Burrow, then a bunch of sprinkled in. Herbert really let us down, and I say us because I lived in LA. In that game against the Jaguars, like blowing a 27-0 lead. I know it's not all on him, but like
a lot of it is
make more plays. Like I can't absolve him completely of the blame.
Totally.
You said something that reminded me of something else I wanted to talk to you about, and I have a good friend who might be listening, Justin Rowland. He's on my show sometimes, and he's like the biggest Cam Newton fan you'll ever meet. And I know you played against Cam, you played with Cam, and you talked about getting run over by a quarterback. So it just kind of made me think about Cam. Can you talk about preparing for Cam, playing against Cam, and then playing with Cam? Maybe share a Cam story.
Preparing against
Newton, by the way.
Well, you had to be no. You had to be. This is when you and Gross had this question about from a man to a zone to a man. He was one of them quarterbacks that would run around and like make plays. And I remember playing him where it was like you would look up, he would run around and he would just chunk it deep. And when you're in a zone and you can't either get pressure or you can't get the quarterback down when you think they're down and you're breaking, it makes your zone. It breaks your zone down. So just playing against him, like younger Cam Newton, it was like he was awesome.
Wild.
Yeah. So he was running, throwing, dancing, Superman, and it was.
I was thinking I've seen to like LeBron physically at quarterback.
Yeah, he really was in shape. Playing well, he was a good cat, cool cat. I remember him come over to the house playing a video. He was a video game head.
Oh yeah,
like any type of.
I can see that.
What game?
Good at it. Like he was like good at it too. But even playing with it was a cool cat though, man. Like real laid back.
Yeah.
Real fiery cat. Now, if you talk to him at practice, he gonna come back here. I remember him and I think it was Josh Norman getting into it. But again,
Josh Norman, I
love that.
He was tall. Like if you wanted to talk, he was ready to talk.
But he's the greatest trash talker
on that too. So it was like,
oh man,
it was always go time, my guy.
Did you ever get to guard Steve Smith?
Yes, he was intense.
Yeah, I imagine.
Practice and that's what I took away from. Like when you played with anybody who was really, really good, like they took it serious. Like you was like, man, damn.
Yeah.
Like he would catch a ball for like 2 yards and spin it on you, like talking trash. Like, man, it was 2 yards, man. Like, what are you talking about?
2 yards, bro.
Like, I mean, he was like intense.
Ice up, son.
Ice up.
Then he would come, but it would be cool because he would like he would just switch it off. Like he would come on the side and be like, man, how your wife and kids? And like, damn, man, you just tried to break my wrist. Like, what?
He's got the compartmentalizing.
Like, it was cool though, but just, and I think with younger generation, just kids generally, like, and I don't think people realize that about the NFL, how hard people like practice and how fast you run and like how much you actually put into it. Or you would see running backs, and all the running backs that I've ever like played with, like on like Wednesday, they would run to the touchdown every single time, run back full speed. Like it was like, this isn't like to find people who like just work hard, and like that whole, I guess, the Kobe Bryant stories, like really good people, like they just knew, like, man, this is what you do. And
Practice
no matter
has
who
to
it
be.
was, they didn't take it easy on you. It ain't like,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, I'm playing against the backup corner. No, you about to get all of this. Like, all right, well, let's go. So it was cool. Now you couldn't break up no passes for Steve Smith. Coach would come over and tell you, like, hey, listen, don't do that again. Make sure he catch every ball. Like, oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Why?
Can't get
well, on that point
now, huh?
No, I just had a question for you that just popped in my head, just out of just plain curiosity. Who would you say is the best player that you played with, and who was like your favorite player to play with, like just your bud, your homie?
Favorite, talking about like as like alongside defense wise.
Yeah, just like when you got in the locker room, that was the guy you wanted to be next to.
Like, well, me and Earl went to college together, and then like, man, I was down the house a couple weeks ago down in Nashville.
Oh, that's cool.
But awesome. On defense, I think just the Urlacher had like such a, in him and Briggs, they just had such a cool way about them. Like they didn't really fuss at you. Like even when they was upset, like they would laugh and giggle and stuff like that. Like they made you feel, they just made you feel at ease. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just a real like.
Yeah. Did you play with Luke in Carolina?
Like tough love.
Yeah, I played with Luke and Carolina. Like he was serious.
He was cerebral.
He was quiet.
He ran around and tackled, but they were just cool people, man. Like I just can't explain. They was always like that in the locker room, everywhere. You would think like, man, Urlacher, man, you're gonna be a Hall of Famer. Like you're Urlacher. You know what I mean? You're gonna be an asshole. I know it. No, you just like cool, and that was just a cool to be around that, man. Like you wanted to do. Like you wanted to do good for, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Everybody.
Greatness creates greatness. Absolutely. Greatness rubs off.
Yeah. The best, you said the best player against?
Yeah.
I thought Percy Harvin was the best player.
Yes. Noah loves that.
He was just, he really was like, he was impressive.
I think he's the best college football player of all time.
Yeah, Megatron was good. He just posed he's 6'5", I'm 5'9". It just posed physically. It posed trouble. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that because it's funny you say that because Charles Tillman, he's talked about before how like guarding Megatron was a challenge in its own way. Because he's a great receiver, obviously, but like he really was challenged more when he had to guard like a Steve Smith, like a shifty guy like that.
Right.
Yes. Well. Yes. Well, with me, you're going to stay with them because they big. They're not going to like move and shift. The smaller guy, when they make you miss,
see ya, right?
Good night. Deuces.
And then you put two small
Tyreek, throw up that peace sign. He's gone.
Two fast people together doing this right here. You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, for real.
But
yeah, the Dolphins have a crazy offense right now, man.
Yeah, totally. So I think, be honest with you, all the receivers, honestly, were just good, man. We would have some practice squad guys that come for like a week or two and be like, I don't know who in the hell team you've been on and you got cut from, but you are just awesome. You know what I mean? It was that. So you will see a lot of great, receivers. But I think the one that, like I was saying, that set people apart was just like Steve Smith. And like, I never really got to play against T.O., but again, Coach has always told stories about how hard he worked, though. Like, you know what I mean? Just like you just, people would just build a different way, had a different, mindset about it.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those things where, Deion Sanders, obviously, always talks about how, he was great. He had great instincts. He was, obviously an amazing athlete. But the reason why he was at the level he is, which is greatest corner probably of all time, is because he studied. He worked his ass off. He played, took practice seriously and whatnot. And I think that, what you're saying kind of speaks to that mentality of like, practice even harder than you play. That's really the Mamba. Totally. That's really the Mamba mindset. All right, guys. So we've been going for about an hour, and I want to say, again, thank y'all so much for being on the show. A lot of fun. Always good to have you guys on. Not really sure how to end a show. So do y'all have any final thoughts? Any last shout outs before I play my final thing and we dip out?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to DJ for letting me pick his brain. That was awesome.
No problem, man. Thank y'all for having me. Hopefully the quarterback pans out. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't want him to pan out, right?
Oh no, of course you'll happily eat crow,
but I just don't think it will. I want him to. I want to be wrong. You know what I mean? I do, but we'll see. I'm excited about. I'm gonna watch some games. Right, I'm gonna get to hear my name called and everything. So I'm gonna watch some games this year.
That's what's up. And look, I'm not gonna. And I'm sure people will tweet at you by mistake. By the way.
Oh yeah, get ready for that.
I'm sure you've gotten that. Have you already gotten that? A little bit.
Yeah, got some couple congratulations and stuff, but you know.
You have a teammate, real quick before we go. You have a former teammate, Chris Conti, the safety. There's a newscaster named Chris Conti. I don't know if you and Conti overlapped, actually. No, you might have overlapped. You did? Okay. But there's a newscaster, like a weatherman in Montana or something, named Chris Conti, and he got unbelievable amounts of hate tweets from Bears fans because Chris Conti, the safety, kept fucking up. And he was just like, he had to just keep saying, like, again, I'm not Chris Conti. I'm not that Chris Conti. I'm a different Chris Conti. So I'm sure, hopefully, the tweets you get are all love for the receiver DJ Moore. And you know,
I don't need to open up my Twitter account anymore. So I won't even see.
Fair enough. Also, just saying about the other DJ Moore, his name is Deniston Oliver, which is really D.O. Moore.
So, I think his middle name is like Johnson or something, though.
It says on his maybe his Wikipedia is lying.
Oh yeah, I had to look it up. I had to explain this to a kid in class. Like, hey, no, I'm David James.
yeah, you're David James. That's so funny.
He got the initials. You just run with it. In the NFL, it's the only place where you can go by your nickname. You can be, you know what I mean. You can be Juicy Fruit Johnson. They'll put it on there. It's just a thing. All right.
I love Juicy Fruit Johnson. That's a good one.
You know what? You'll always be OG DJ. How about that?
Yeah, you're OG DJ Moore. And you know, I mean, and I'm hoping, like, look, I'm hoping that I could just cook you up the biggest pot of crow for you to eat when you're wrong about Justin Fields. Maybe you'll be right, but hopefully you're wrong. And obviously, I'm not gonna give you like, I hope you don't get too much backlash for having an opinion that varies from the general population of Bears fans. But yeah, man, as always, thank you guys for listening to the show. Thank you guys for joining. And as always, please let me know if I'm full of crap, because sometimes I'm just an idiot.
I think I'm full of crap. I have to be just like some idiot who's full of crap. Please show up in the comments and tell me how I'm full of crap.